Hey everybody, I'm Yasmin Vasugian. We begin with another police shooting, this time in North Miami. An unarmed therapist coming to the aid of his patient who has autism, laying on the ground, pleading with his arms in the air, and it was all caught on video. And then here's shot.Kinsey, the man who was shot, now in his hospital bed, describing what happened at that moment.
Going to the ground just like this here with my hands up. And I'm laying down here just like this. And I'm telling him again, sir, it's no need for firearm. I'm unarmed. He's an autistic guy. He had a toy truck in his hand. And when he hit me, I'm like, I still got my hands in the air. I said, no, I just got shot. And I'm saying to myself, like, sir, why did you shoot me? And his words to me, he said, I don't know.
CNN correspondent Boris Sanchez outside the North Miami Police Department for us now. Boris, good to talk to you. I saw this video, completely shocked, learning what had happened. Are we learning anything more about this officer and why exactly he pulled that trigger?
Answers are few and far between at this point, Yasmin. It is a point of a lot of frustration for people in the community. This happened Monday evening, and today, right before noon, is the first time that we've heard from police about this incident. The chief of police, Gary Eugene, came out and said that his department is dedicated to transparency and to justice. And then when the press started asking him questions, any kind of identifying factor in terms of this police officer, in terms of what happened, he didn't answer any questions and he walked off the podium. So there's a lot of frustration again in the community trying to get answers about the situation. From what we've heard, the attorney for Mr. Kinsey has told us that he has already spoken to the city manager and the city attorney trying to work out some kind of settlement, but he has not heard from police. What they're hoping is to get a settlement done quickly to show the community, to show the country really, that this police department is holding its officers accountable. That's from Mr. Kinsey's attorney. Here's more of him describing how all of this unfolded.
The biggest hurdle that he has to overcome is the mental hurdle, because he felt like he did everything that he possibly could to comply with police, and he actually had taken it one step further and also still had the interest of his patient and the well-being of his patient in mind.
That was actually Mr. Kinsey's attorney, Hilton Napoleon. He also told us that aside from the cell phone video that was taken, there's also surveillance video taken by a nearby surveillance camera for Florida Power and Light. They're hoping to subpoena that to get a clearer picture of how this could have happened, Yasmin.
And what are state investigators looking for now?
Well, they're certainly going to want to get their hands on that video. They also put out a call to the public, hopefully to get any kind of witnesses to come forward. I actually have a statement for you from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, or rather the Florida State Attorney's Office. They tell us, quote, "We will conduct our own investigation and review all of the evidence to determine whether the actions of the shooting officer constitute a criminal act that can be proven beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt." The attorney for Mr. Kinsey this morning told us that there are some charges he believes this police officer could potentially face. He didn't want to get into too much detail on that, except to say that he believes that this person should not be a police officer. One more note for you, Yasmin. This morning, Loretta Lynch, the head of the Department of Justice, was asked about any potential federal investigation into this. She said that her office is now collecting information and reviewing the information, potentially with charges pending in the future.
Well, and just important to note, per Kinsey's account, he said he asked the officer, "Why did you shoot me?" And he said, "I don't know," which is just remarkable and quite shocking. Boris, thanks so much for joining us. Very much appreciate it. I want to bring in Cheryl Dorsey, retired LAPD police sergeant. Cheryl, let's bring up that video again. I want to watch it together. I'm sure you've seen it a couple times. It's pretty shocking to me when I first initially saw this video. Here it is right there. You see him, Kinsey, with his arms up, telling the police officers he is a behavioral therapist. He has a sick patient with autism. What is your reaction, Cheryl, to this video when watching it?
Well, when I watch it, I understand that Mr. Kinsey did everything that he could do to prevent what happened from happening. And so the fault lies solely and squarely with that officer. And listen, we're trained professionals. Even though he responded to a radio call that may have said that there was a man with a gun, we, as the trained professional, are required to make a target identification. We are required to ensure that that information that was given via 911 is accurate. You cannot treat someone based on information that was given to you because it could be incorrect. And so to argue that I responded to a radio call by the police department, and for the police department to say that, we are going to be transparent, let me explain, translate the double speak. They're circling the wagons and they're trying to figure out how to minimize and mitigate this behavior because it's very difficult to argue what's in someone's head. But tactically, that should have never happened.
And there was no gun found on the scene. In fact, that autistic patient, had a toy truck in his hands. Again, police telling us they were called to the scene because there were reports that a man was walking around the streets with a gun, but in fact, there was no gun found on the scene. Cheryl, how do people trust the police when they see videos like this where a guy has his arms in the air, like I said, and identifies himself the way in which he did, saying he is a behavioral therapist helping someone with a mental issue? It's difficult for the public to trust the police.
They're not helping. Certainly, the police departments are not helping with this information. And so, when you've done everything that you can do as this citizen did, and it's not the responsibility of the citizen to make the officer feel comfortable, it's the other way around. And so for him to fire at this person and then say, I don't know why, is unconscionable. And for them to be working on a settlement, I don't know how many zeros are in a gazillion, but that's how much they would have to pay me if I were Mr. Kinsey to make this okay. This should have never happened. That officer should be fired, not now, but right now.
Well, currently that officer is on administrative leave, and this investigation obviously still developing. As we get more information, we're going to bring it to you. Cheryl Dorsey, thanks so much for joining us. Very much appreciate it. I want to turn now to Melissa Knowles with more top stories. Hi, Melissa.